B'mitzvotav, Mitzivanu, Asok, K'divrei Torah. Okay. Hi, everybody. Good Shabbat. Welcome. It's another delightfully cool, relaxed, early fall day here in Los Angeles. The pumpkins are growing and so forth. Donna, you changed your hair. I mean, that's very disconcerting to me.
It's probably just messier than usual.
Okay. All right. Anyway, hi. Okay. I'm going to make a request now. We've got a lot to do today. First of all, I would like, please, everybody, please send me an email. It's not that I am short of correspondence, but I want to update and correct our mailing list. So if you would please, you don't even have to have a message. When you send it to me, your address is on it. I've got it, okay?
Yeah.
So, and my email address is Rav Davids, RAVDAVIDS @gmail.com. And if there are two of you working from a similar or identical computer, please send me both emails, okay? So Harvey and Mara, let me have both emails, okay? And Steve and Mona, who just walked out on me, the same. Okay, so because part of the problem, the happy problem, is the new people who've joined from Wilshire, and I don't have their email addresses, and I want them so that last week when I sent out a notification, I could reach everybody. So please, everybody who can hear my voice, see my face, or read my lips, please send me an email so that I can put you on a master list for contact with this class. So that's part number one. Part number two of 17 different items. This is a special Shabbat. And that Shabbat is what? Who can identify the name of this Shabbat? This Shabbat right here. This Shabbat is
Tubav.
I did. Shabbat Nachamu.
Shabbat Nachamu. That is correct. It is also the Shabbat of the week and really of Tu B'Av, the 15th of Av, and it's a time for love. This is the great love moment, and it's a great balance. Last week, Tisha B'Av, this week, love. And though I said this in the posting last night, Tu B'Av is often called the Jewish Sadie Hawkins Day, which immediately shoved me into who created Sadie Hawkins, which immediately shoved me into Al Cap, whose birth name was Al Kaplan. And Al Kaplan, who created Little Abner, invented, now this is way before your time, this was a cartoon I used to read in the Sunday papers. Little Abner's cartoon strip invented Sadie Hawkins Day. So Sadie Hawkins Day is Jewish, and this is on the Israeli calendar, and it is wonderfully disheartening that this week in Israel, they were selling chocolates, heart-shaped boxes, flowers. It's like the invasion of the American mercantile industry. They've come in and they're trying to make Tu B'Av into Valentine's Day. But you know, we'll live with that. It just is that way. But I want to go to with you Shabbat Nachamu just for a moment. I want to turn in Plout to page 1222. Just to give you a sense of where the name Nachamu came from, page 1222. This Isaiah passage, Isaiah 40, is the specially assigned haftarah for the Shabbat after Tisha B'Av. Not complicated. Every year, same haftarah after Tisha B'Av. What is obvious from the title, the Hebrew begins, Nachamu, Nachamu Ami Amar Elohechem. Comfort my people, says your God. So you have Nachamu. This is the Shabbat of consolation. We read Isaiah. That's fine. Now, if you want to be up on a group of rabbis that is really larger than it ought to be, please understand that when it reads Nachamu, Nachamu Ami, it isn't saying to the Jewish people, the Israelites, be comforted. It's a command. Go out, God says to the prophets of the people, go out and comfort my people. A number of my colleagues have delivered magnificent sermons on Isaiah calling to the Jewish people, be comforted. Nah, that's not what it's saying. Comfort my people. The obligation of the prophets is to offer them comfort. Donna.
Why does it say Nachamu twice?
Any other questions? I would say that there is a technique in the Bible, and you know it very well, that the repetition is a strengthening. And do it, really do it. I don't think that there's, I mean, if I were writing Midrash, I could do lots with that. But the straight text, Donna, is, hey, do it.
Okay. I mean, I know there's a big thing about tzedek tirdof, like explaining why it's twice. So
yeah, well, it's an explanation. No, you first, with the rabbis, first you have an explanation, and then you go for a place that you can put it in.
Okay.
Okay. So okay. The example is beautiful. You're right, and it is a point of emphasis. I saw Merle. Merle, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just going to say it's obvious to me. It's obviously a commandment because it's got an exclamation point at the end.
Okay, but that requires you to read the text. And
well, I did.
okay, you're totally correct. That is where the translator made the point. Okay, and
okay.
Now dating this Sedra, Haftarah. This Haftarah dates, who knows, around approximately 530 BCE, or let's say 2,600 years ago. I love to think of it in those terms. The real Isaiah apparently wrote chapters 1 through 39 of the book of Isaiah. There are other Isaiahs who were not called Isaiah, but there were other people who got their works put into the book of Isaiah, who are sometimes numbered cleverly Deutero-Isaiah, or number 2. Then there's Trito, number 3. Need I go on? There's 4, there's 5, or not. That's why people still get PhDs in Bible studies, because these kinds of problems excite them enormously. Okay, now, so tell me about the condition of the Jewish people in 530 BCE. You knew I was going to get to a question. Tell me about the situation of the Jewish people in 530 BCE. Where were we? What were we doing? Okay, who wants to say we were in Babylonia? Yes, okay.
Babylonia.
I knew you knew what you just were playing with me. Okay, so they were in Babylonia approximately 586, 585, whatever. The first temple, Solomon's temple, destroyed. Kingdom of Judah, people carried off into captivity in Babylonia. And therefore, what is the job of Deuteronomy, Isaiah, 2nd Isaiah? Very clear. This people is suffering. Go out, make them find comfort. Make them find comfort. This is so different. I mean, they're different authors in different situations. Last week, we read Chazon Yeshayahu, the vision of Isaiah, Isaiah chapter 1. And what does Isaiah chapter 1 say? You are sunk, O Jewish people. You are in the toilet and I'm flushing. That's a literal quote from the Haftarah. And God is saying through the prophet, you have sinned. You're going to get punished. That's what's in line for you. That's the story. That's Isaiah. Isaiah isn't a prophet of comfort. Isaiah, 2nd Isaiah, chapter 40, which begins maybe 40 to 65. We don't really, there are disagreements. He's saying, you've suffered enough. God kept the promise to punish you. God will keep the promise to redeem you. Okay? So this is a real prophet of consolation. Now, speaking of consolation, what do we call the 7 weeks between Shabbat Nachamu, or the end of Tisha B'Av, and Rosh Hashanah? I gave you a little bit of a hint. What do we call those 7 weeks between between Tisha B'Av and Rosh Hashanah? We call them the 7 weeks of consolation. That's what we're in. And folks, it's one of the interesting things that the only people who really know what's going on in the services are people who pay attention to things like, what is the special haftarah assigned for today? And that puts it into a very small group of people. Even the people who daven regularly, or traditional Jews, whatever, don't usually take time to contemplate, why is this particular haftarah selected for this period of time? Okay? And it's a little bit sad. It's like, oh God, there was a game on handheld iPhones in which, if you walked along with the GPS device activated, you would pass treasure places that only show up electronically. It's a game. And you'd walk along and all of a sudden, beep, you've got, you've acquired a piece of treasure. The haftarot are treasure houses. They tell you what's going on in Jewish thought. Most of us, you listen to the bar bat mitzvah chant, fine, don't think about that those texts were selected, point, between Tisha B'Av and Rosh Hashanah. Set your house in order. That's what's going on. Set your house in order. And the selections of Haftarot are selections of consolation and of hope leading up to Rosh Hashanah. So many of us, none of us on the screen, but so many of us suddenly wake up, oh my God, tonight is Erev Rosh Hashanah. Let's have dinner, rush to shul, terrific. The Jewish calendar understands you can't jump into Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur. And these 7 weeks are designated pathways to get your house in our house in order to make it. Now, I have a secret friend who sent me a passage from the Pesikta de Rav Kahana. It is a midrashic collection that Tamara sent to me, and it deals with those 7 haftarot. And it's a beautiful, beautiful document. And I'm not screen sharing because it looks to me, though my vision is impaired, that it's in Hebrew. But the point of the midrash is how Jerusalem, representing the Jewish people, how Jerusalem copes with existential reality and prophetic promises. I wish I'd said that before. That's very nice. What's the reality? Destruction, exile. What's the prophetic promise? Trust God, everything will be good. And you can just hear the Israelites saying, yeah, right. And the Pesikta portrays Jerusalem responding to the weekly promises of consolation with the phrase, yeah, right. And it's amazing. You got this prophet, it's going to be good, it'll be great. And Jerusalem says, yeah, right. And it's delightful, it's wonderful. And tomorrow I'm going to quote you in the note you sent to me because I thought it was elegant. It's damn hard to accept God's promises. That's what you wrote. And it is damn hard to accept the promises that God makes in the prophets. Not to worry, it'll be okay. Not to worry. The tension that this Pesikta, this midrash deals with is so real to us. We live our lives, we read the promises. And what do we have? How do we reconcile that? And again, though I love going through it, I'm not going to give all the examples, but the rabbis begin by saying, it's weird how all these things contradict each other. God says to the prophets, go, comfort the people, comfort Jerusalem. So you have now Hosea, okay, one of the Haftarot. So Hosea says, I have been sent by God to comfort you. Oh, Jerusalem. The sarcasm is beautiful. Hosea says, I've been sent by God to comfort you. And so Jerusalem says, what are you bringing with you? And then quotes a destructive threat made by God. And so Jerusalem says to Hosea, who are you kidding? Is it this? Is it that? Your own words contradict each other. It's magnificent. I would love to go through it. I'm not going to take the time to do it today, but it is beautiful. And at the very end, you have to imagine God getting just a little bit frustrated with all of this. I mean, God works hard, sends all those prophets. It's not working out. God is saying, what am I supposed to do? I am sending people for nechemta, for consolation. Nachamu, nachamu ami. And then there's a call by God. Let the heavenly spheres comfort. Let the lower spheres comfort. Comfort Jerusalem, all the living people. Comfort Jerusalem, all the dead people. Comfort her in this world. Comfort her in the world to come. Comfort her about the 10 lost tribes. You can feel God's frustration in here. Comfort her about the survival of Judah and Benjamin. Therefore, Nachamu, Nachamu Ami, Jerusalem, accept the fact that my prophets have come to comfort you. And then, Donna, the rabbis rewrite Nachamu, Nachamu Ami, comfort you, my people. Go, prophets, comfort my people. Now the rabbis say what God really meant to say was Nachamu, Nachamu, not Ami, but Imi. Not comfort my people, but work with me to comfort the people, because this is a tough sell. I don't mean to be happy, but it is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful rabbinic approach to Shabbat Nachamu. Okay, pause, deep breath. Some new people have come in. You may not be new to yourselves, but new to being here. I ask, please, everybody who is online today, send me an email so I can reconstruct an effective contact list. Everybody, please, everybody. I see Barbara Levitt. Barbara Levin is there. Barbara, if you can hear me, I am sending you love. If you can hear, okay? I am sending you love. I see that you're there on sound, not with a picture. Okay, checking in. Anything happening in our world that you would like to share with the community? Anything at all? Anything at all?
The Israelis won a medal yesterday,
Yeah, but it was bronze. It was bronze.
but it's their first ever in Taekwondo.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Shechianu. We got a medal. That's good. I watched the opening, Steve, of the Olympics. The thousands of drones put together to make a globe was the most amazing thing of technology that I have ever seen. They actually individually controlled thousands of drones to construct a globe floating in the sky. I'm still a kid. I used to send up rockets. I love this stuff. Okay. Yes. Anything else? If not, we're going to move on. There's so much to do. We're going to move on. Okay, Susie. Susie, there you are.
Here I am. My 9-year-old grandson on Vashon Island is on Wednesday. He's going to Jewish camp for his very first time. It's called Camp Kalsman, Kalsman. He is so excited. He's going for 3 weeks. And he just couldn't be more excited. And he packed a tie and a long sleeve dress shirt and some khaki pants to wear for Shabbat.
Who's more excited, grandson or
Me.
grandmother?
Grandmother.
Okay, I just thought I'd ask that. Okay, that's cool. That's wonderful. Any other sharing? Marina.
My mother-in-law, Dina Scheinberg, will be 89 on Tuesday. She's now in the hospital and going through very difficult times. So we appreciate support from everybody.
You got it.
Thank you. You have our prayers, our thoughts, and I'm sure people will be in touch. Thank you, Marina.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, calendar. I have precious little on calendar at this point. Cindy, anything with sisterhood and calendar? I don't have anything. I know there's a convention coming up.
COVID permitting, we're having an in-person sisterhood meeting, not a board meeting, for all women of Wilshire Boulevard, just to explain sisterhood, meet each other. We're going to have lunch in the sukkah, and Cami Gordon will be our featured speaker, and Rabbi Nanas will be doing the ritual. We're going to have a Mahjong tournament in October and a Hanukkah celebration. So we're beginning to plan in-person things, and it's really nice and exciting. And I'm really looking forward to the women of Wilshire and the women of University to meet each other.
That's great. Someday I know it's already been written, but I'm going to read a commentary on Jewish women in Mahjong. I am, it's so there, and I just think it's totally fascinating. I am now going to try the impossible.
Share screen, it's at the bottom.
Yeah, well, I hit it and it popped up, but okay. Well, okay, wait, give me a break here. I am going to do this because I am competent. Okay. Now, let's see. I am going to do this again. I know everyone is waiting with bated breath to see if I can pull this off. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, this is such a good day. Okay. Now, this again came to me through Tamara. In the Sedra of this week, so that Effie doesn't say we don't talk about a verse from the Sedra, in this magnificent Sedra, you have a version of the 10 Commandments repeated. You know that it's in Exodus chapter 20, the original 10 Commandments. Now, and it really isn't, but now we have Deuteronomy, a second version, and you know that Leviticus 19 has a totally rearranged version of the 10 Commandments, so that it appears three kind of different ways in the Torah. But let's look at the screen share, which I have worked so hard to get for you. The Exodus text. Remember the Sabbath day to make it holy. You know this. 6 days shall you labor. 7th day is Shabbat, because God made the world in 6 days, rested on the Shabbat, and made it holy. Okay, easy question. 4th commandment, Shabbat. Why do we have Shabbat? Yell out the answer. Why do we have Shabbat?
Because God rested. We have to rest.
God rested from creation. It is a creation reason. God worked 6 days, 7th day, Shabbat, rested. 7th day is Zachor at Yom HaShabbat. You see the Hebrew in the yellow, the English in the yellow. Remember, Zachor. Now let's go over to the next section, our Sedra. This says, blue and blue, Shamor at Yom HaShabbat. Doesn't say remember, it says observe, lishmor, keep. Observe the Sabbath to make it holy. All right. And you shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt. God brought you out. On account of this, God commanded you to do the Sabbath day. Exodus, the reason for Shabbat is creation. Deuteronomy, the reason for Shabbat is
Exodus.
Exodus. Now, again, Donna, in really good rabbinic ways, if you ever find a contradiction between two texts, you search for a third text to reconcile. That's a standard approach. What Tamara shared with me is something that was put together by Rabbi Dr. Andrea Weiss. Andrea is provost of the Hebrew Union College and worked with Tamara in the women's Torah commentary, the WRJ women's commentary. She is quite a brilliant scholar. What she put, now please look, because again, it makes me, today's a happy day. She found another manuscript with a third version. It says that it's a Qumran manuscript. Tell me, please, anybody, I can't see all of you with the stuff up. What is Qumran?
It's a location in the mountains where the old scrolls have been found.
Yeah, what do we call that area?
Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now, this is a quotation from a Dead Sea manuscript of Deuteronomy, Ar Sedra. Okay? So Deuteronomy, Ar Sedra is slavery. Exodus is creation. Look what the Qumran manuscript of the Torah says. Observe, which is the Deuteronomy words, shamor. Observe the Sabbath day to keep it holy, as God has commanded. What's the reason? 6 days you shall work, on the seventh, the Sabbath, don't do any work. You or anyone, you shall zachor. Look what just happened. The Qumran text has both shamor and zachor, observe and remember, in its version of the Torah text. To me, this is astonishing. Observe the Sabbath day, remember the Sabbath day. Why? You were slaves in the land of Egypt. Got it. Therefore, observe the Sabbath day. Why? In 6 days, God made heaven and earth, and the seventh, God rested. What happened here in this text? What happened? Donna, don't do it more than a hand signal. You're correct. What happened in this text? Donna, please.
They wove it together, the two texts they wove together.
So here you have a most incredible, obvious statement that scribes worked on the Torah text. It was not transmitted once and forever the same. It evolved. And I don't mean that in this case that Exodus came before Deuteronomy. That's a separate argument. But the Exodus text, remember, because creation. The Deuteronomy text, observe, because of the Exodus. The Qumran text says both. And it is presented as Torah, not as a variant. The Qumran manuscript presents both and says, this is what it means. By the way, we're not going to do this. Rabbi Dr. Weiss put in the same kind of approach to the flood story and to the Passover sacrifice, and showed how the different voices of Torah were reconciled. I want to stop for a moment. I even got out of the screen share. No one applauded, but I accept that. Thank you. I'm very dependent. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? Here is black and white literary old proof that the scribes worked on the Torah text. Merle.
I like it. I feel like, okay, it's Deuteronomy, so it's sort of the final reminder, but it's the reminder that we can't forget. we have to remember these things, whatever it took to get us to where we are for Shabbat. This is the reminder that we have to observe Shabbat.
But what
And-
about the divergent texts that are reconciled here? What does
I
that
think-
mean?
I think it's okay. I think that it's taking the two texts and saying this is why you are expected to observe Shabbat and what Shabbat is, what the purpose of Shabbat is.
Thank you. Steve Miller.
Do we know the dating of that Qumran text? Because it's interesting. Do we know if it's before or after the final canonization of the Torah, or how much of that may have been shared with others in other areas prior to the canonization? I would think it's interesting because there isn't really any reason that Deuteronomy, as it ended up, doesn't have, it's really only an additional sentence at the end. Even Deuteronomy has both remember and observe.
But the rationale is different.
No, yes, and that's what I said, they add a sentence or two. So I was curious about the dating of that scroll compared to these
I'm going
other.
to try to answer knowing that Tamara is sitting here grading me. My basic understanding that the Torah was canonized, set around 400 BCE. That's kind of, this is all ish. It's a convenient date. The Dead Sea Scrolls operate, Tamara, I'm going to guess into the 2nd century, 1st century BCE. Oh, yes, it's a good day. That means, Steve, to answer your question, the accepted date of canonization is 200 years before the correction.
So did anyone, were they redoing the text in a way that they were hoping to create a new version of Torah for their followers?
I can't answer that. Tamara?
We don't know what they thought they were doing, but what it does show is that it's an ongoing process even after canonization. And I would like to push it even further. The Torah itself in Deuteronomy correct or complements or changes what we learn from Exodus, right? So Deuteronomy is already a revision, as we read it, of what God said at Sinai. So what was written in stone said Shabbat because God rested, but 40 years later in the story, Moses is saying Shabbat is because you were slaves. And Shabbat is not about you, Shabbat is about your slaves. They get to rest. So we see that the reform impulse is built into the Torah, which for me as a Reformed Jew is very important, that we're dealing with a living tradition that constantly presents itself to a new generation. So I think that's what the Qumran people are doing. They're doing what Deuteronomy is doing with Exodus. And what we're doing today when we say this is Torah Sinai, but we're doing something different. The Torah is meant to be lived in community.
Okay, this is to me, this was a beautiful text, Steve. Being able to look at the Qumran and to be able to ask your question, what's going on, and really important. I want to go on only because there's so much, and there's so much good here. Let's go to chapter 4, 1188 in the Plough, 1066 in the WRJ. Again, 1188 in the Plough. And I know you're not supposed to talk about one Sedra being richer than any other. But if I were allowed to talk about that, I would talk about this Sedra. Chapter 4, verse 1 in our Sedra, page 1188 and 1066 in the Women's Commentary. Again, look at this stuff, folks. And now, O Israel, va'ata Yisrael, shma el hachukim ve'el mishpatim, give heed, shma, to the laws and rules that I am instructing you to observe, so that you may live to enter and occupy the land the eternal God is giving you. Verse 2, this is what I want to look at. You shall not add anything to what I command you, nor take anything away from it, but keep the commandments, the eternal your God, that I enjoin you. Please, in American English, what is the text saying? Verse 2, in American English, what's going on? This is powerful. Donna, I see a hand.
Don't mess with the text.
Okay, I think that was elegantly phrased. Yes, don't mess with the text. Don't add and don't subtract. Larry.
Everything that I'm commanding you is important. You shouldn't disregard some and elevate others.
Okay, so that's the other side. Don't take away. Don't add, don't take away. I have a hand came up from Jeff. Is that right?
No, it's Steve.
Yes.
No, it's Jeff. Jeff.
Okay.
The idea that you can add nothing and take away anything from the instructions given by God, that the text cannot be improved, that you have the ultimate authority, and we, in our ego sense, have to be held back from changing the meaning or input or emphasis that the words were given as.
Now, I certainly accept that comment, Jeff. And I would just throw in a little snide aside. Why would the author of Deuteronomy put in, keep your dirty little hands off my text? Why? Well, that's my thing. Why would the author of Deuteronomy put that in? Marina.
Maybe there were attempts to change the text before, and he wants to protect it.
Yes. Most rules, I'm not the lawyer in this group, there are too many of you out there, but I mean, not too many, a large number, never too many. It clearly were efforts to change the text. And the author, you know, whether it's during the period of Josiah, King Josiah, whatever, is saying, this is it. Don't touch it, because in fact, there were those, let's say, in the Northern Kingdom who were attempting to touch it. I see Howard, and then I see Mara.
Maybe he had the text of Exodus and knew very well that there was this contradiction in language, and he was referring to it in some way, although it just sort of muddies the water. He was saying, well, my I don't know. I know that there's a contradiction here, but my version is the one you should listen to.
Then what you have is anyway a response to what's really going on. Mara.
So when we're told not to change a word, words are about understanding. And so that instruction to not change becomes confusing, becomes complex, because how do we know that we truly understand what's being commanded?
I'm going to have to ordain you and then put you back in the maybe 3rd, 4th century, because that's precisely what the rabbis did in their approach. They would never suggest that a word is wrong or that something should be added. Rather, they would focus on, we have to understand this better. And that would be their approach. Agreed, totally agreed. Rashi, good old Rashi, gives us examples of what people might want to do to change the text. Don't add. Rashi says, for example, you all know that in the tefillin, there are 4 sections, right? 4 sections. Rashi says, don't make it 5, puts it in. Don't make it 5. Okay. When you're building a lulav, Rashi says, there are 4 species, the myrtle, right? The willow, the palm, the etrog, 4. Folks, 4, not 5. Rashi's offering, be very clear, 4, not 5. So then Rashi says, and don't add any holidays. Pause. Don't add any holiday. Jeff. Okay, your hand is still up. You can. You're muted, Jeff, so I can't hear you. I'm sorry. Okay. Don't add any holidays. Bible scholars collected, where do we have examples where holidays not mentioned in the Torah get added? Steve.
I don't think Yom Kippur is in the Torah.
Yes, it is.
Well, yeah, it is. It is. We can do a rabbi on that. It's there.
Okay, Hanukkah isn't.
Better ground. Hanukkah is not. So what is Rashi saying about Hanukkah? Hanukkah existed as a holiday in Rashi's time in France. He had
it. Must be a celebration, but not a holiday for God.
Take a look at the blessings for Hanukkah. Asher Kiddishana b'mitzvotav vetzivanu lahadlik ner shel. Oops, what's the next word? Hanukkah. But wait, our text says don't add, and Rashi says no holidays. Let's go modern. Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance, is a day on the Jewish religious calendar. Yom HaAtzmaut, except for the Haredim, it is Israel Independence Day, is a religious observance. In the Reform Prayer Book, there is a special text insert to be read on Yom HaAtzmaut.
What about the 5 scrolls?
I'm sorry?
What about the 5 scrolls? They're not are they considered?
Okay, the Book of Esther tells us to establish Purim.
Right.
Okay, so that's one of the 5 scrolls that establishes Purim. We can fudge Purim, and that's what happens when it says somewhere in Deuteronomy that God is going to do a hester panim, a hiding of the divine face. The rabbis say that's Esther, and okay, we can fudge Purim. But we can't fudge the others. So how do we handle it, Penina?
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It all has to do with self-preservation. We start even with the Book of Esther. There was a threat to the Jewish life, to the whole community, to be exterminated. When they talk about the 4 specimens that we hold to shake the lulav for Sukkot, it shows you the 4 forms of resettlement into the land. They started in the mountains.
Penina, let's focus on the question.
Yes, this is a part of it. The settlement into the land, and then they get to be exposed to other nations that live there. They live with them. So the influence of sacrificing humans that were brought from maybe Ur Kasdim or Egypt might be an influence, or the Messiah that every other religion represented, that commanded the people to kill whatever it is, whoever it is that doesn't believe in the same custom or religion of these nations, is to be killed, or sitting beneath the not to be standing above a person.
Menina,
Yeah.
we need
So
to
it's all self-preservation. You need to follow that because it was a way to keep alive. If you follow the other rules, there was a possibility of people starting to forget human lives' value.
So you put up walls, and you put up walls not to be, forgive the phrase, kachol hagoyim, like them.
Exactly.
Right.
That's it.
Not to be like them. So the rules are there. From now on, nothing new can be added. Nothing can be done to change.
Hanukkah was a book. It was discovered during the Dead Sea Scrolls, but they don't have a lot of religious directions on it. It has a lot of strategies of how to fight the Greeks that were in the country at the time. So again, we have to do with self-preservation. So, but there is a book. It just wasn't found in time to be included. Sefer HaChashmonaim, the book of the Hashmonaim. It was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's a part of it.
Okay, actually, what you said is not accurate. What you said there is not accurate. No, the Book of Maccabees was not found in the Dead Sea. But we're not going to focus on that because that will take us away.
All right, there was a list of strategies that they were fighting and stuff like that. Okay.
Yes. What? Have you ever heard the phrase, build a siyag la Torah?
Right.
The phrase siyag, build a fence around the Torah. Now, the fence around the Torah was how the rabbis found a way to change what this text says. For example, I remember seeing this, a battle that took place, the Great Battle of Miami Beach. It is well known in the history of the American settlement, the Battle of Miami Beach. Orthodox women wanting to take their strollers out on the beach to the ocean. But this beach was too far from their homes on Shabbat. Very clear how much distance you can travel. And pushing a stroller is not vacation. So what do? Folks, what is the answer that the rabbis come up with?
Erev.
Who said Erev? Okay, Howard. Okay, thank you. Howard, if you put up a continuous wire around an area, it can be considered still your private property. Really?
But what's the fourth side at the beach?
They had to, the Battle of Miami Beach was to get permission from the city to be able to put wire up there. That was the battle. And it worked. And thank God the Haredi women can go to the beach on Shabbat. It warms the cockles of my heart if I could ever feel what a cockle is. Now, it's a rule that's not in the Torah. There's no thing. If you want to enlarge your property for Shabbat so you can walk 200 yards, 300 yards, just put up a big wire. It's there. There are so many siagim, fences that we put up to expand what we mean by work. Other examples. Can you think of another example? Can you think of another example? I have, there's so many. Do you know that you're allowed to annul a law in the Torah temporarily? Do you know that? By rabbinic teaching, you're allowed to annul a law in the Torah. The Hebrew that the rabbis offer is "Et la'asot heferu Toratecha." When you are in great distress, you can break the Torah. That's not what the Torah text actually says. That is a rigorously destructive way to rearrange meaning. But the rabbis grabbed hold of it when during the Maccabean Wars, when the Syrian Greeks attacked the Jews on Shabbat, knowing that the Jews would not fight back because it's Shabbat, and the rabbis ruled, "Et la'asot heferu Toratecha." Right now, just now, please understand, if you are being attacked, you are permitted to fight back on Shabbat. Folks, give me a break. Where does it say that in the Torah? Nowhere. Except the way the rabbis took our verse number 2, our verse, don't add, don't subtract, and made it possible to add and to subtract. Give you another one. Kosher birds. I'm sure this is big for all of you. Diane, do you worry about kosher birds a lot? No? Okay, I accept that. Fine. Kosher birds defined as birds mentioned in the Torah. What well-known Jewish bird is not mentioned in the Torah?
Chicken.
I'm sorry?
Chickens.
No, don't say that. That would be horrible. But turkey.
Chickens aren't in the Torah either.
With chicken, with turkey. What are we supposed to do? Starve to death? I mean, what are we going to do? Do you know there was a real rabbinic kerfuffle about turkey discovered in the new land, the new country here? Turkey was here. Do you know what that would do to the turkey schnitzel business in Israel? If they took away turkey, how did turkey get permitted? You're not allowed to add or subtract. They found a way in. There's so much, and we're going to have to stop. Oh, God.
Rabbi?
Sir?
A lot of my Chabad friends will not eat turkey.
Seriously, sir. I mean, there is a basis for that. It is a rabbinic expansion to be able to eat turkey. And in that sense, Effie, it would be viewed as a violation of Torah. This has been delightful, folks.
A wonderful discovery.
Oh, it's terrible.
The grapes.
Thank God for that. Now, please, last reminder, please send me your emails. Now,
could you give us the email address to send it to again for those who came late?
Rav Davids, RAVDAVIDS, and it's at gmail.com. Our tradition now is to ask those in mourning and experiencing a yahrzeit to rise if they would like. Those who have passed away during the past month: Anat Ben Ishai, Norman Cohn, Maury Dickman, Martin Clark,
Hello,
Myron Mike Roberts,
how are you?
Steinheimer, Tony
Good
Barry.
Shabbos to you. Wow, I didn't know that you.
Okay,
you
please.
birds.
Go on mute,
Please.
Helen.
Shut
Helen, go
your
on mute.
sound off.
Mute yourself.
She did.
Now she is.
Now, the yahrzeits that occurred during the past week: Chana Adlin, Muriel April, Marianne Barbanel, Samuel Bahar, Carol Berkowitz, Betty Berman, Alec Block, Jeanette Blumenstein, Joseph Brandel, Howard Brown, Miriam Connor, Lillian Cook, Florence Koski, Irving Max Dunner, Jeffrey Dworkin, Rand Feinstein, Barry Freed, Thomas Freeman, Jonathan Fury, Harry Gable, Art Ginsberg, Gladys Sarah Goldberg, Lillian Gottschalk, Cynthia Gottlieb, Edward Greer, Leonora Harris, Ronald Heft, Ethel Henningsen, Merle Hilliard, Jerry Hodis, Hilda Hoffman, Beverly Cooper Howard, Iran Esther Ishtam, Ruth Jacobs, Miguel Kahan, Melinda Lee Case, Ray Kaufman, James Levine, Irene Ann Levin, Eva Liatowicz, Fernando Lozano Jr., Evan Mackey, Marilyn Malkin, Paul Mendel, Harris Mann, Elizabeth Meserve, Henry Miller, Arthur Moore, Ruth Needleman, Melvin Nussbacher, Michael Ormiston, Jennifer Pachalski, Stephen Pitts, Evelyn Prell, Dennis Rainey, Sarah Rev, Dean Harrison Ralston, David Rosenberg, Judith Harriet Rosenfeld, Robert Rosenthal, Edward Ross, Michael Rosenberg, Eugene Rubin, Molly Rykoff Labens, John Sabet, Nain Sadeghi, Reba Sardell, Muriel Scheuchet, Mark Schulman, Walter David Schwartz, Francis Seltzer, Jaime Schur, Carol Shawcett, Lester Sidney, Merrill Silverstein, Meyer Silverstein, Genevieve Simmons, Muriel Solomon, Marjorie Cherry Ferrari Spitaleri, Gertrude Steinberg, Vincent Verzi, Ida Werlin, Irene Grace White, Alfred Wolf, Miriam Wolf. Are there other names that you would like mentioned at this time? Any other names? We acknowledge those who have died defending the state of Israel, those who have no Kaddish, no one to say Kaddish for them. We are going to join together in the recitation of Kaddish in a moment. Okay, and remember that we do this every week. We do this every week as part of the observance found within Wilshire Boulevard Temple, and including our own as well. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, V'alma divra chirutei, v'amlich malchutei, v'chaye chon of yomechon, v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mavarach, la'olam le'omei al-maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitramam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, Shmei Dekudisha, B'richu.
B'richu.
Le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru, amen.
Amen.
Shlama Rabba min Shemaya, v'chayim, aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'romav, uyaseh shalom, aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. And because this list is new to me, I apologize for mispronunciations, and I will attempt to do better as we go forward and the names become familiar. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Send your email addresses.
Shabbat shalom.
I sent mine.
Shabbat shalom, Barbara
Shabbat
Levin.
shalom.
Have a wonderful week.
Hi, Herman. Hi, Susie. Hi, Howard. Hi, Barbara, if you're still on. Goodbye.